Hello and welcome back to Today in the NBA, where today I'm going to be recapping the Miami Heat's past regular season, postseason, going over what I think they could do and what the offseason has been, and looking at some outcomes for this coming season. Now to start off, last year the offensive rating was an abysmal 25th in the league with 112.3. Their defensive rating, however, was much better at 9th, 112.8. Should have probably said this earlier, but the Miami Heat managed to sneak into the play-in as the 8th seed. They played really well and managed to make it all the way to the NBA Finals, where they unfortunately lost in 5 to the Denver Nuggets. Now, I think the big fix for them either has to be getting their defense to first in the league, and I don't think that that's a very feasible thing to do, as they would have to contend with the Cavaliers, Celtics, and even the Grizzlies and Bucks. But I think the offense, if they could move it up to maybe 12th or 11th, it would get much better. Now, the big problem with the Heat's offense last year was their three-point shooting. Normally, the Heat are a really, really good three-point shooting team. But this year they were 10th in attempts with 34.8, but they were an abysmally bad 27th in the league with three-point percentage, only shooting 34.4% from three. This is something that I think's not really easy to fix, especially considering they lost probably their two best three-point shooters in Max Strus and Gabe Vincent. Now in the playoffs, however, they were much better. Their shots just magically started to fall. I guess that's what happens when you sort of play with Jimmy Butler and he gets that much better in the playoffs and you play under a great coach like Coach Erik Spoelstra. But the big thing for them was Tyler Herro only played 1.5 games, I think. So this is a serious question here. In the off-season, could they trade Tyler Herro? They could maybe trade Tyler Herro, get a shooting guard and a point guard, or get a power forward and a point guard, just increase their depth, because that is really, really something that they need to do. Anyway, with that transition, I'm going to start talking about the Heat's off-season now. The Heat's off-season was not very good. I'm going to give it a D to a D- so far. They did manage to bring back Kevin Love, I think, but they did lose, as mentioned before, both Max Strus and Gabe Vincent, who were key players on that team. They did bring in Thomas Bryant, however, who I think would be alright, and Jaime Jaquez Jr. He's shown that he's going to be alright in Summer League, but I do think there would have been better picks on the board available. I would have loved if they'd have taken a Chris Murray, and that would have bumped their grade up for their off-season, probably a fair bit. Now the Heat's depth chart looks alright, but it really is lacking a true point guard, and a few positions are sort of weak. So the starters are Tyler Herro, Josh Richardson, Jimmy Butler, Kevin Love, and Bam Adebayo, and the bench is Kyle Lowry, Duncan Robinson, Caleb Martin, Haywood Highsmith, and Thomas Bryant. I think Tyler Herro's not really someone that you want starting. He sort of did show that last year, but he's a great player that you do want coming off the bench, or he's a player that you might want on another team for better players. Kevin Love is probably someone that shouldn't really be getting rotation minutes anymore, but the Heat are just so desperate with what they need that I think he is going to. Duncan Robinson, I don't think he's actually going to play much. I think Jaime Jaquez Jr. will probably steal his minutes instead. And Kyle Lowry, he was bad the first year they got him. He was even worse last year. And this year, I don't know if he's going to be able to receive much time at all. In saying that, however, I think that the Miami Heat do have some good options that they could go for in the open market. They have a $5 million taxpayer mid-level exception. I think this could be used to either get a Terrence Davis or an Anthony Lamb. I would probably go after Anthony Lamb. He was really, really, really good for the Warriors last year, managing to get some good rotation minutes in a system that has proven to be really tough to understand. He shot 37% from 3 and 47% from the field. This was on a pretty low number of attempts, but still, I think he could definitely maintain this efficiency if his shots did increase a little bit. I think that Anthony Lamb would be a great, great, great replacement for Kevin Love. He's probably not as good of a shooter, probably not as good of a rebounder, but the defense and the inside scoring is so much better. He's actually someone that is able to switch onto the perimeter and hold his own sort of with some of the smaller guards in the league, whereas Kevin Love, if he gets switched onto a guard in a pick and roll situation, then it's pretty much over. Also, I think along with Bam Adebayo, a nice switching team where both the bigs can switch onto guards would be really, really, really helpful for the Miami Heat's defense, maybe pushing them up to 7th or 8th in the league. Now, some other options that I think the Heat could probably get on a minimum are Terrence Davis and John Wall. Terrence Davis is a small forward / shooting guard. I definitely think that he could be more impactful in a rotation than someone like Duncan Robinson or Kyle Lowry could be. Now, to solve the point guard problem, I could definitely see the Heat trying to pick up John Wall. John Wall, he was alright when he played, he wasn't amazing, but he was definitely better of a point guard than Kyle Lowry would be. Who knows, he could even start on this Heat team. He's not a great shooter, but the Heat always seem to find a way to make these players that can't shoot suddenly shoot out of nowhere. John Wall doesn't quite have the explosiveness or slashing ability that he did when he played back in Washington, but I still think that he is a great passer, and I don't think his three-point shooting is really going to get any worse. Now, another thing that the Heat could do, they probably won't, but who knows, if they're playing really badly at the trade deadline, Tyler Hero's not playing all that well, we could see them trade Tyler Hero for some depth pieces. A trade that I think could potentially make a lot of sense is with the Brooklyn Nets. The Brooklyn Nets would send out Spencer Dinwiddie, Noah Clowney, and probably Royce O'Neal, maybe some of those Phoenix picks, or maybe some of those 76ers picks, who knows. That is something that I will leave the GMs to figure out. I'm not a GM, I'm just putting ideas out there. Anyway, this trade makes sense for the Brooklyn Nets, as it gives them someone who could potentially be a number 1 scoring option, or a number 2 equal scoring option with Mikal Bridges. The Heat, this trade makes sense for them because they get a really, really productive starting point guard in Spencer Dinwiddie, a nice player who could definitely start at power forward for them or run some backup minutes behind, say, an Anthony Lamb and Royce O'Neal, and a nice young player who knows, could even play really well and earn himself a backup center or a backup power forward spot in Noah Clowney. I know the Heat are definitely giving up a great young player in this deal, but they get some great rotational players back, players that will be able to impact immediately. They might get some picks, and they do get a nice young player with some good potential in Noah Clowney. Anyway, if the Heat don't make any of these moves, don't do anything that I've suggested, then I don't see their season going much different than how it was this year. Maybe they finish a little bit better. I'm guessing that they finished as the 6th seed with 47 wins and 35 losses. They lose in the second round to the Boston Celtics. I think Jimmy Butler makes an All-NBA third team, an All-Star game, and Bam Adebayo and Jimmy both make all-defensive teams, Bam making the all-defensive first team, Jimmy making the all-defensive second team. Anyway, that does it for today's video. Thank you all for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Please check out some of my other videos, and I'll see you all in the next one.